Welcome again, everyone. I am here going to give you my review on the film Exit 8, directed by Genki Kawamura. And to be completely honest with you, this film did surprise me a lot more than I thought it was, because when I first thought about this film being made from a game into feature length, I wasn't really sure whether they would manage it due to the fact that the game is so simple, and that's what brought along its popularity. And I was just wondering how they would be able to translate that simplicity into a feature-length film. What I will say at first is they do actually manage to do that pretty well. I do think this is a very solid horror flick, and I sort of went into it knowing to expect repetitiveness. I think that is one of the things you need to expect going into it, because a lot of people might be like, oh, it's very repetitive, you don't really understand, like those sorts of things, like back and forth in it like that. But it takes the game's premise and it injects a little bit of story into it in order to stretch it out to a feature-length film's length. It starts pretty well. The story does go up and down in many different sectors. The protagonist, played by Kazunari Ninomiya, he sort of quickly catches on to the premise. This does affect a little bit of his believability because, he doesn't sit there and panic as much as you would necessarily expect him to. It does have a lot of conveniences in the plot and some plot holes that could affect the viewing, but I just don't think you need to get hung up on that sort of thing when you go into it. I was able to overlook it when I went in. It's obviously repetitive due to it essentially being a loop, but every single time around there is something new that manages to keep me invested. Genki Kawamura and his cinematography does these interesting shots and utilizes the long draw to the audience, and I really enjoyed the wide shots where he invites you to look for the anomalies, because the whole premise of the game is it's very Backrooms-esque in a sense of you are looking for an anomaly and then you turn the other way hoping that you found the anomaly, in a sense that you have to discover your own way out. And these things where you are given the chance and opportunity to do it yourself is pretty cool. I think, though, one of the disadvantages of that is it gets us to look for the anomalies like we're the protagonist, but that can also be seen as a bit of a negative because you might spot the anomaly, because it's a loop and something's out of place, and he might not, and then he makes a frustrating choice. But then again, that is what is useful in creating a plot. You cannot have the main character doing everything right, or there wouldn't be a film, you know what I mean? So it does have a, frustrating feel at points with some of his decisions, but a lot of them do seem justified during the dilemma that he is put into, even though, again, like I said previously, he sort of comes to terms very quickly with the dilemma that he's in, that it's a loop. He does figure that out quite quickly, and then some of the decisions he makes doesn't match a character that would then figure something like that out, if you know what I'm saying. The story does have some throw-offs for the loop, which I really enjoyed. It had me guessing in some different parts, which but the one thing about this film and biggest criticism I have of it, though, is due to the fact that it is an anomaly thing. It is like trying to figure your way out of this loop that does have a really eerie, really sketchy feel to it. It does make me question a little bit how rewatchable it will be. It might be a one and done sort of film, but if you're fine with that, then you're fine with that. But it is very impressive. I'm impressed with how it makes such a simple idea into a feature length movie that is successful in most areas, and there is definitely enough visualization and good cinematography to make it a film that you can kind of insert yourself into as the main character. I think, though, overall, I give it a 7 out of 10. I did want a bit more out of it. It's definitely a very good premise with good execution, but the decisions and the characters' actions sometimes could be a little bit laughable, and the plot's interjections did fall flat at some points, but they obviously had to make a character, they had to make a plot because it's based off such a simplistic idea. There was a lot of waiting as well, though, but the shots and everything like that was really good. And yeah, if you guys enjoyed, please tell me what you thought, and yeah, comment down below. Bye bye.